discuss emotional baggage. Then we will look at what it means, look at causes, effects, identification, and treatment. Very simple. How many of you have heard of emotional baggage before? Okay, let me put it this way. How many of you have not heard of emotional baggage before? You've not heard? Okay, you've not. One person, you've not. Two? Okay. So the rest of you have heard. Huh? Nancy, I've heard it. Okay. And Victoria? Victor? You've heard, alright. Okay. So, whether you've heard it before or you are hearing it for the first time, I think you are going to learn something. Okay, let's move on. Okay, for those of you that have heard, what is it? What does it mean? Please bring the mic. What does it mean? Okay, let's begin from there. Give to Victoria.
Okay, what I've heard about emotional baggage is, to my own understanding, is just like the things we fill our mind, like the things we occupy our mind with.
Okay, the things we occupy our minds with. Okay, keep in mind, what is it all about?
To my understanding is negative ideas, negative emotions which people carry about that affects their day-to-day activities.
Okay, negative emotions. Want to say something? If you are, alright. And identification. I think I will spend more time on identification and treatment. Yeah, you know what it is. So how do you identify it and how do you treat it as a help professional or a helper or a counselor or someone who is having interest with helping other people? Do you think it is important to know how you identify this? Yeah? Alright, and then how to treat it. Because the truth is that many people's lives, many people's problems are connected to the thing they carry about. And they do not know. So you that try to help them, if you do not know too, you won't be able to render a good help. So you should be able to know some signs and some symptoms and say, okay, could it be that this person's problem is connected to this? And then from there, be able to move on in helping the person. Alright, let's look at the baggage first. Before we Alright, start the question as we run through the slides. Is that okay?
Yes.
Alright, let's look at the baggage. I said here that baggage are heavy loads people carry in their life journey. Heavy loads. Do you understand? Like, if you want to travel now to a far place, let's say you want to travel home, maybe you are not sure of ASUU strike when it is going to be called off. Currently, Academic Staff Union of universities are on strike, right? And most of the students are traveling. Those that are living in the hostels, you'll see them carrying loads, carrying bags, stuff like that. So life is a journey. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
That life is a journey. So when you are traveling in the journey of life, you may carry some loads if you are not careful. You may carry things that are heavier than you. Let's look at this image. These two images. You see this man? You see this man? Can you see how he bends? Eh? Alright, what do you think make him bend like that? The load that he's carrying. So, do you think that if those heavy loads are taken away from him, he will still be bending? What's your thoughts? Huh? He may stand straight. Okay. You see this one? This one is not bending. This one is like, me, I can do it. I have the capacity. If you see people that work very hard, I'm not saying that working hard is bad. Do you get the point? But some people carry so much loads, they do not care about letting go those loads so they can be free. They want to carry so many things. They want to run, they want to move, they want to carry. Look at, instead of him to drop these things and be free, he's trying to push them and travel with it. This is what some people do. They carry many things, many negative emotions, many problems, many challenges. They just want to move along with it. And they claim it's okay. You know, they say, it's, after all, it's my problem. Let me carry it. Let me be it. Have you heard someone talk like that before? Say, it is my cross. Let me carry it. You know, people that say they are carrying their cross, they do not even know what cross means. They carry bitterness and call it cross. Do you think bitterness is cross? Is bitterness cross? Answer me now. The thing people say is cross, those that understand what cross means, it's not really cross for some people. I know genuinely people are carrying their cross daily and following Christ and all that. But then people carry things that are not cross. Something like anger, unforgiveness, bitterness, sadness, depression, anxiety. People carry all this and still claim it's okay. It's my life. I have to suffer it. It's my time. You are not meant to suffer bitterness. You are not meant to suffer anger, depression or sadness, fear, and all those things. You are not meant to suffer them. So carrying them like this man, carrying them like this affects your movement in life, affects your decisions, affects your choices. Of course, you can't be where you're supposed to be when you are journeying with this kind of load. You are not likely going to reach your destination if you carry something that is heavy like this. Alright, let's move on. Do you see figure 3? Yeah. That one is too much. You know, some people carry like 3, like the figure 1 is only 3, the figure 2 is 3. But look at this one. You can't even count it. So many things. Then look at this one too. This one is not very clear, figure 4, but what I want you to see in this one is that this person is tired. Do you see? He's tired. You know, these days I'm beginning to take people that say they are tired serious. I'm seeing so many things happening when somebody says he's tired. So now I'm taking anybody that says he's tired serious. A lot of people are tired of life because of the things, the numerous loads they are traveling with. You know, even if you travel from here to Enugu with so much physical bags, it's definitely going to stress you. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Then you now travel from here to Abuja, or you go on a journey that may require you moving from one vehicle to another. Even if you travel by air, and then you drop and take up again, you know, if your load is too many like this, it's going to cause problem and distractions. So what now happens in the journey of life when you carry so many things? That is how you get tired. Like that man, or whether it's a man or a woman, just get tired. But it looks like the woman gets tired and sit down. I don't know whether he's giving up. What do you think he or she is doing? He's thinking about the next thing to do. Alright, so this is not fine. As we progress, you begin to see that some of the persons you are going to come in contact with are people that carry loads like this. So you may not, if you do not understand them, you may make assumptions. You may wonder, why is this person behaving like this? Why is this person thinking like this? You don't know what he's passing through. You don't know the things that he's carrying. If you know the things that he's carrying, you won't be blaming the person. Instead, you look for a way to drop some of those loads, to collect those loads from him. Do you understand? You see someone carrying anger, bitterness, depression, how do you expect that person to behave? Do you think that person can behave normal? No. So to start helping that person with those loads is not going to be fruitful. That's why you are learning this as a counselor in the making and as somebody in helping profession. You are learning this because if you do not know how to help people drop their loads, all efforts to help them change, have better behavior, think properly won't work. Do you get the point? Alright, let's make progress. Now, these unresolved bad experiences. That's one. Unheld wrong attitudes. Can you read that? Long-held wrong attitudes. Then, what's the next thing there? Long-standing burdens. Do you see it? Long-standing burdens. Then we have another one. Unbroken bad habits. You see? Unbroken what? Bad habits. Then we have unresolved negative feelings and emotions. Unresolved negative feelings and emotions. So when we talk about baggage, we are not always talking about emotion. So some of those things may not be emotions. But when we now say emotional baggage, then we are narrowing down to emotions, negative emotions that people are carrying along. But looking at this again, you now realize that the baggage is coming from bad experiences that were not resolved. Now let me quickly say this so you won't be confused. When something negative happened to somebody, let's say the death of a loved one, that person may pass through certain negative emotions, such as maybe sadness, some people anger. If they feel someone kills the person or kill the person or whatever, they may be angry. Some people may even be angry with God. Have you heard of somebody being angry with God for the death of a loved one? Okay, so that's a possibility. That happens. Someone can be angry with God, can be angry with parents because something happened. So when that negative thing happened and then the anger, which is emotion, is generated, some people do not resolve that emotion. That is, they do not treat it, they do not deal with it. What do? They move on in their lives. They move on. And the problem is that the emotion they didn't treat, they didn't get aware of, will revisit somehow, somewhere in their life. It can control and redirect how they think and how they behave. So unresolved bad experiences follows people if they do not resolve it. Long-held wrong attitude. You see someone that has been having a particular attitude from teenager, that is teenage age, up to adulthood, that is married. The same thing that people were complaining of when he was single is what people are still complaining of when he has become married man and father of many children. The same attitude. So you'll be surprised someone that knew this man 10 years ago or this woman 10 years ago, meeting him or her now and still wondering, so this person has not changed. Have you heard something like that before? Say, so this man has not changed. This man is still the way he was. Maybe your classmate in secondary school. After 10 years of not being together, you happen to meet yourselves again and you see that the person is still doing the same thing that he used to do before. Why is it so? I mean negative attitude now. Why is it so? It's because the person has failed to deliberately deal with that thing and resolve it in his life. So the thing follows him or her. You hear someone say, I don't have control over this thing. Have you heard such a thing? I don't have controls. It just comes impulsively. It's obvious the person do not have control. And if you trace that thing, something happened and generated it, and nothing was done deliberately to resolve it. So at some point, the energy is ignited. It's like I'm running ahead of myself, but it's better so that you get understanding. Current events triggers past experiences. Current events. you suddenly recall something that happened 10 years ago because of what is happening today. That is how it works. So if that thing that happened 10 years ago generated a negative feeling, and you did not deal with that negative feeling, remember what I said when we had emotional intelligence class? That was last two weeks or 3 weeks. I said that events of life creates emotions, creates feelings that people have. Do you recall? Yes, for those of you that were there. That events of life, positive events creates positive emotions, then negative events creates negative emotions. But my point today is when those negative emotions are being created, there are things that should be done deliberately by the individual to be free. If those things are not done, the person's life is likely going to be controlled by that thing. Because future events will occur to trigger that sadness. Suddenly, the person that is happy now switch and is now sad. You just can't drop this mind now, and someone gets so angry, and you are wondering, is it just to drop this mind that is making this person angry like that? What do you think happened? There is a connection between dropping the mic and what the person suffered in the past. Do you understand? Don't be confused too. Victor, do you understand?
Yes. I'm trying to.
Because the way you look this way. Alright, let's progress. Okay, so now, this last point, say unresolved negative feelings and emotions. So we are going to concentrate more on the emotional baggage. That is, the baggages that come through unresolved negative feelings. Is that okay? Those that come from unresolved negative feelings. So I said here that unresolved, that is emotional baggage, is unresolved or unprocessed. Take note of that word. Unresolved or unprocessed negative emotions from past experiences that can impact current experiences. Is that okay? So when we say emotional baggage, don't just say negative emotions from past. It is more of that negative emotion that now impacts, that now exerts influence on the current experience. That's when it is a problem. So if it doesn't affect the current life, it's not a problem. Do you get that? So someone that asked whether it is a one-sided, negative only, not positive, you can begin to see that it is one-sided, right? Yes. It is not negative. If it is exerting certain influence on current life, that is when it is a problem. And that's
negative influences. Certain negative influence
on the current experience the person is having. That means it controls the way the person is thinking now, and it controls the attitude of the person now, and it controls the behavior of the person now. But this thing happened in the past, and it can be the past can be just yesterday, or maybe last week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 5 years ago, 10 years, childhood, and all that. You want to say something or ask question? Okay. Please. Positive emotion. Now, in the future, now a similar thing, but this time around is generating negative emotion. Is that what you mean? Or the person is assuming that this thing is going to generate positive.
And then he invested, he trusted, he did anything.
Invested, okay. What we are actually discussing is the emotion itself, the feeling itself, not necessarily the things that created the emotion. Do you get it? So our focus is not so much on the event, because if you are to look at the event, like in that scenario, you have to consider other things, other factors. Obviously, if all the principles and all the conditions that produce the positive results before is being observed, I mean everything being observed, most likely positive result is going to come out again in the current experience. That is if that looks like formula. But guess what? Most times people do not know what actually produces results in life. So some people make efforts and assume that it is their efforts that produce results. Some people meet relationships, meet with people, interact, call people on phone, when you have a positive result, you assume that it is that thing you did. Meanwhile, it could be something else that actually produced that result. It could be someone who happened to know you that maybe is making underground plan for you, that is producing the results. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So you have to know what actually produced the results. But let's forget about the results, positive or negative. Let's focus on the emotion that was created. The negative thing the positive thing that created positive emotion in the past can motivate somebody to take certain actions in the present. Do you understand? So because you have gotten something interesting in the past, there is a positive emotion that is in you. You are not feeling sad, you are feeling excited and motivated to take other actions, to engage. So that one won't be a problem. It won't affect you. The issue is when the emotion that was generated is negative and it is now making you to misbehave in the present. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So that is our focus. Alright, I think we can move on. Okay. This is still talking about emotional baggage. It has to do with the unresolved emotional cases in people's life. Emotional cases in people's life. Especially.
Please try and silence yourself.
Especially when the present or future life is at risk of the past events. Take note. So this thing we are discussing is not just our head knowledge, but it is to bring your attention to what might likely be the cause of some people's problem. Someone may come to you and is planning to commit suicide or whatever, or the person is addicted to certain things. It could be addicted to alcohol, addicted to sex, addicted to friendship, addicted to books. You don't know that this thing is controlled by something, and you are just trying to help the person blindly. At the end of the day, your efforts may not work. You assume they have resolved their negative emotions that are God when they are unpleasant experiences. Sorry about that, let me take it again. I said sometimes people ignorantly assume they have resolved their negative emotions that occurred. That occurred from where? From their unpleasant experiences. Ignorantly assume that they have resolved. Maybe by moving on in life, forgetting about them, or disassociating from the person involved. Someone did something bad to you, you disassociate from the person, and you think that you have helped yourself. Most times when you disassociate, the emotion that was created is not dealt with. Do you get the point?
Yes, sir.
That you unfriend a friend that hurts you does not mean you have gotten rid of the influence of the negative emotion that came from the hurts. Do you understand? I've seen people in relationships, those that say their hearts were broken. Something like that. It breaks my heart, kind of. You understand? After the heart was broken, maybe the relationship didn't continue, but the person is actually carrying something that may affect his or her marriage for life. To some people, the problem in their marriage is stemmed from the problem they had with their first boyfriend. Do you understand? Why the wife is not trusting the husband could be because she trusted the first boyfriend, and then the first boyfriend, proved that he is not trustworthy. And this young woman started from that time to refuse to trust any man. And that is how she got married, and she's not able to trust her husband. It shouldn't be so. If the emotion that was generated when she had that breakup or whatever was resolved. Do you get the point? Alright, so some people ignorantly assume they have moved on. But in reality, their life is being controlled by those past experiences until they are resolved. If those things are not resolved, people's lives are controlled by them. So as they are walking, something is controlling their lives. You see someone playing music, dancing. It's not just like he likes music or something somewhere. Maybe that is how he's trying to find pleasure for himself. So you see people being so harsh. You see this one being so gentle. You see this one being so kind. Some people can be overkind as a result of emotional baggage. Yes. You see someone laughing. They can laugh as a result of what they are carrying. Some other persons can bowl as a result of what they are carrying. So sometimes it's good to check what is controlling your life. Yes. You are so kind. You come here now and sweep this whole place and mop. Only you remove the cobwebs and, polish the whole environment. Why? You know the why is actually very important. It could be that this is the only thing you can do to pay for what happened to you in the past.
Or what you did.
Either what you did or what somebody did to you. I'm trying to point your attention to certain things that might be happening to you or people around you. Remember, you are a helper, you are a counselor, you are a social worker, you are whatever, but you have interest helping others. So it's good you understand them, so that when you see them, you just look and have compassion on them, like our Lord Jesus will look at people and have compassion. You think that he was ignorant of the people? He knew them. He understood them. That's why compassion can easily come. If you do not understand what somebody is carrying, it's hard for you to have compassion for the person. It's when you know what someone is passing through that compassion can come. Is that the truth? Yeah. Alright, let's move on. Alright, emotional package also includes the present things people are worried about. Don't just think it's only the past. The present thing that somebody is worried about. The present thing someone is worried about. For all of you now say you're a Christian, right? If I ask, do we have anybody who is not a Christian here? Nobody. So everybody is a Christian. Okay? The Bible 1 verse 6 say you should be anxious for nothing. Say and make your request known to God. Then it now says that the peace of God that passes all understanding will do what? Will fill your heart. Then verse 8 now gives you the things you should think about, the things you should fill your mind with. Think about what is excellent. Think about what has a good report. Think about what is fine. So check yourself right now. I want you to check yourself, check your heart. For the past 48 hours, have you thought of things that are not of good report? I want a honest person. For the past 48 hours, that's 2 days. Have you entertained things that are not trustworthy in your heart? Things that are not excellent. Is there anybody that has entertained such? So all of you think about what is noble, not deliberate. That's what I wanted to say. Deliberate about dispelling negative thoughts. You'll be attending to it. That's why Peter now said that you should cast your anxieties, cast your burden. It's a commandment, it's an instruction. Say cast. If it means if you refuse to cast, the thing will be there. Cast your burden on Jesus, for he cares. Alright, let's move on. The danger is that people tend to carry on negative emotions, okay? Meanwhile, the negative emotions are not supposed to be maintained or kept in our lives, as they tend to influence our lives negatively. Alright, let's move on. What's the danger? Unfortunately, negative emotions do not easily disappear from people's life, especially when it is connected to severe unpleasant occurrences. Severe unpleasant. It's not a light thing. Severe one. The emotion that comes with it do not easily dissolve. That's the danger. And many people think that after crying and burying the person, that the emotion has gone. The sadness has gone. That's why 3 months, 2 months, 4 months, 5 months, 1 year later, after someone lost somebody, anytime they remember it, somebody is sad again. Someone is down, someone is angry. The same way he felt when that thing happened, he's feeling it again. It means the thing is not dealt with yet. Do you get the point? You should remember it in the present and be happy, or at least be normal. You shouldn't force back to the same way you were when that thing happened. Alright, those unresolved negative emotions are stored in a bag. You remember the bag, the pictures that we showed you? They are stored there inside and hang on people as they move around the journey of life. And that is known as what? Emotional baggage. Oh, see this example. Do you see, can you call the emotions this person is carrying? Call them now. Fear, pain, sadness, okay, guilt, and okay. Only one. But this is how it is. For some one person, pain. You see that it's not straight. The person can't stand straight again. Do you notice?
Yes, sir.
It's bending. Because guilt is actually very heavy. That's why the Bible says there's now no condemnation for they that are in Christ Jesus. He's trying to tell you to drop the guilt. Drop the guilt. But you are still carrying it, and the thing is pushing you like this. Something you did last month, you are still asking God for forgiveness this month. When you want to pray, oh God, you know the other day, I did last 2 weeks, I did this, last month, 3 months ago, I did this. That 3 months, didn't you ask God to forgive you? Why are you still carrying it? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So the anger that was in you last year, why are you still with it today? The same thing. Something happened and you were angry, and the anger is still in you. Why? It's going to bend you down, like you see in this man. Look at fear.
Yes.
Fear, very deadly emotion. Deadly emotion. Job said, the things that I feared has done what? Come on. The things that I did what? Fear. Then Isaiah prophesied and said, do not fear what people fear. Why all these instructions? If God wants to talk to somebody, he will come now. I said, fear not, for I am with you. You want to go to work, God will come and say, fear not. He knows that once you are afraid, you are going to be defeated in life. Once you are afraid. So fear is very deadly. Like, don't experiment what I want to say, but if you are afraid of motor hitting you, accident, like having motor accident, and you are so afraid of it like this, if you are not careful, you may enter car accident. Because things that people fear most times come on them. Fear has a magnetic effect. It's like as you are fearing it, is attracting that thing. It's drunk, say, come. I've seen someone that is fearing you. Say, come. Yeah, go and ask Job. He said that the things that he feared. So all those things you heard happen to Job are the things that he didn't want to see in his life. And he was afraid of those things. And you heard that the guy will go and do sacrifice early in the morning for his children in case they have sinned. He wasn't sure whether they have sinned, but just in case. He doesn't want anything that will bring any wahala. You know, sometimes when you think you can protect yourself so much, I'm not saying you should be careless, but when you make so much effort to keep yourself, keep yourself safe, make sure the door is well locked. Any day it is open, you feel so down that the door was open. You just be so principled. Sometimes it's just a sign of fear. Sorry, and that does not mean you have to be careless. But what does Psalm 127 say? He that builds his house, he that builds in vain, if the Lord is not the one that is building. He that watches is spending, just wasting time doing that, if the Lord is not the one that is watching over his city. Do you get it? So, when you are protecting yourself, bear in mind that it is the Lord that is doing the protection. But if you are doing it out of fear, you are drawing things, you are attracting things to yourself. Of course, I said that doesn't call for a careless life. I believe you understand what it means. Alright, let's move on. There are challenges, but they never resolve them. And the influence of those challenges can stay with them in the form of emotional baggage or trapped emotions. So if we don't call it emotional baggage, we call it what? Trapped emotions. Okay? Time does not resolve the emotional issues that have trapped an individual's life. What does time do? Time only pushes the issues into subconscious mind of the individual. Do you see it? Time only pushes it back. As you grow older, the thing is getting back, but it doesn't resolve it. It doesn't resolve it. So it can still affect you 20 years later. Is that okay? 20 years later, 50, it can still affect you. Because time doesn't resolve the emotion. Alright, being pushed into the subconscious mind doesn't mean it is resolved. Rather, it means that the unresolved issue is exercising certain controls over what the individual does and how he lives his life. Over what the person does and how he does what? He lives his life. Any questions so far? That's just an explanation of what emotional baggage is and the root of it. Do you have understanding? Some of you that said you understand emotional baggage, have you learned anything new? Huh? Alright, so there is no question. So somebody wants to ask question. Why? Or is it a problem? Of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah. Something that should make you feel something. You are not feeling. Why everybody is feeling? To be honest with you, some people suffer from having feeling for opposite sex. I mean, their spouse or those that want to marry, they met someone they want to marry, but there is no feeling for a long time. Even married couples, no feeling.
No, maybe I'm talking about in the aspect of, for instance, now, someone died, everybody's crying. You're the only person who is not crying.
Well, that one could be
something that's supposed to, trigger shock.
Doesn't trigger.
Shock.
Well, it could be. Most times that may not be a problem. It may just be the person's understanding and control, self-control. I'm not saying in all cases, but some people, they don't. What do they want to cry? Someone has died, so in their understanding, the person has died. So it's to find a way to bury the person. So why do you cry? Do you really think that the Bible encourages you should cry when somebody dies? Eh?
Partially.
Partially. Okay, you should cry partially. But not as those who do not. 1 Thessalonians 4:13. 1 Thessalonians 4:13. What does it say? About those that die. Is understanding. Then someone you lose a loved one. You may look strong. You may look like it doesn't bother you, but it bothers you. But the understanding is too much for you to come and look so sad and cry and run down and scatter these seeds for what? You say, God, show me the grave. I want to fall into. You know, many of them will not fall. If you allow them, they go and jump. Those that want to fall into the grave of somebody.
That's the reason why women live longer than us.
Huh?
You don't think that what was the reason why our mothers live longer than our fathers?
That is a separate issue. Let me finish this one. What I'm saying is this. With understanding, you shouldn't look so down when you lose somebody. As someone wants to say something. Give her a name.
Sir, thank you, sir. I have two questions.
All right.
Relating
to this one.
One is relating to this.
Okay.
One is different.
Different, okay.
Okay, sir. The first question is this. Assuming a man, let's say a person loses a loved one, and people are actually mourning that person who was lost. And then this particular person amongst the family members is not said to be mourning like every other person. But after a while, like within a short period of time, the person drops dead.
The person that was not mourning.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Would that be said, are we to assert that this person has a way of mourning or, expressing or reacting to emotions?
Thank you.
That's one.
Thank you. That me answer before you ask. Being strong are actually very weak. Yes. They are covering up on something. It's actually emotional baggage that is making the person look like that. And because the person has not expressed the emotion that he's supposed to express, like crying and getting a relief and all that, then he can drop it. So as we progress, when you look at the effects, you see that emotional baggage can kill. It's not, it's not just, emotional baggage is not just coming as a result of death. It can actually lead to death. So some of those people that appear to be strong, nothing moves them. Some of them, they are like that because of the baggages they have. Some, their heart is like this, but they are very insensitive inside. I've seen and heard somebody being so broken after the burial of a loved one, but when the person died, he was looking very strong. People were like, this one is very strong, moving around. But a few days later, after the burial, the reality of the death rubbed on him. It's a serious thing. It can kill somebody. It can make somebody to commit suicide. Do you understand? It can make somebody to unexpressed negative emotions. There are times that someone does something that you should just, say something to get relief. Go ahead and say something to get relief. The Bible says, do not be angry, but do not sin. Do not sin. So that means if you are getting angry, your anger should not grieve the Holy Spirit. It shouldn't pass 24 hours or so. Just little reaction, if it can give you relief. I'm always scared of people who do not express themselves when they are hot. They are hot, but you know very well they are hot, but they don't express it. It's deadly. It's deadly. So if the death of a loved one has hurt you, there's nothing wrong with you expressing it, maybe by talking about it, or by just do something to get a relief. The Bible that I read, 1 Thessalonians 4, said, do not grieve like, guys, don't go too far grieving. He didn't say don't grieve at all. After all, you read through scriptures, when somebody died, they mourn. When Aaron died, they mourn for Aaron. When Moses died, they mourn for Moses. Do you understand? So there is that period in the Bible that when somebody is dead, you feel for the person. But don't make it look like you will not have hope. That's what the Bible is saying. So your question, those kinds of people, they need to be helped. It means nothing moves them, but then something is moving them inside. So the person can just be overwhelmed by the emotions that were not expressed. Overwhelmed. You see someone that, let's say a wife or a husband, that always keep things. You do this one, he will keep. Do this one, he will keep. Instead of just talking about and let the thing go, he will keep until one day he cannot keep again. And the thing is like someone is carrying sachet water or choking sachet water. You see how water will push out like you see, just picture sachet water or a bag of water. Then you carry knife or something and choke it. See how the force that the water will come out. Some people who don't express themselves when something happens look like that one day. They will get tired and get fed up with the whole thing and then explode like bomb. As the day you say, can this person be like this? He can carry this thing and dismantle your head. Someone you never believe can talk back to you is now pointing finger. I mean, coming to slap you. That is stored up emotions that is coming up one day. So storing it up is very dangerous, and that's what we are discussing. We are discussing the fact that you should resolve the negative emotions. And when we get to the treatment, you see that part of how you resolve it is actually to express it. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's to express it. If you have someone you love, a friend, a colleague, make sure you do not keep records of wrong. Of course, love does not keep records of wrong. According to 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. Love doesn't keep records of wrong. So the more you keep records of wrong against a loved one, the more you are building negative emotions that may explode one day and scatter that relationship. Alright, the second question.
Sir, please, what can be
Okay, to help someone, this
this
specific
particular case, sir,
of somebody who
loses a loved one and
didn't do anything.
yes, sir.
Okay, can you just give the question when we get to treatment? So let me not start discussing the treatment now.
Okay, sir, the second question is this.
Alright.
You know, as I need clarifications on this, sir.
Okay.
As human beings, we have a lot of thoughts crossing our minds.
Exactly.
And, you know, with this, can we say that if a thought crosses my mind, for instance,
Yeah.
can it be said that I have negative emotions? I need clarification.
What type of thoughts? Negative thoughts?
Okay, let me cite an instance of
Well, what led to that was when when we read Philippians, when we saw Philippians 4:6, that says, "Be anxious for nothing." Is it? Not a spirit. You may not be able to control the thought that flies your head every second, right? But then Galatians chapter 5, verse 16 says that if we are led by the Spirit, we will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Do you get it? Now, when you have this understanding, it means God does not want you to exercise the desires of the flesh. In this context, God doesn't want you to keep that negative thought that flies to your head. He doesn't want you to think about it. He doesn't want you to keep it, but He wants you to dispel it. So if you are here, then the thought flies to your head. You know you've been warned not to think about it because it is not excellent. It doesn't have a positive report. So what do? You dispel it and refuse to think about it. And look for opposite of that thing and think about it. That is the opposite, is the positive. You think about it. It's a deliberate thing that you can do. Especially if you have the power of God in you, backing you up. As you are a Christian, you believe in Jesus, you have the Holy Spirit, then you can control yourself. Do you get the point? Alright, another question.
We've been talking about emotional baggage, and I would like to know, negative emotions caused by negative experiences, are they always bad? Because, for instance, now maybe you experienced something before, maybe someone hurt you before, and then you're now like, okay, you learned some lessons from it, from that negative experience, and you're like, okay, I wouldn't go to this extent again, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. So once in a while, when you see, maybe something similar happens and you sit back and you remember it and you're like, and it helps you even make a more positive, like, makes you make a more positive decision regarding the current event. But then when you think about that thing that happened before, you still, obviously it hurts you. So you still feel bad about it, but you not necessarily dwell on it. Does this still mean that you thinking that before that you thought about it and then you felt bad about it means that you're still carrying emotional baggage?
No. If it's making you hate people of the same height, let's say you were raped by a tall man. Then anytime you see a tall man, your mind flies to how you were raped, and then you start being resentful towards a tall man. It means it's still affecting you. So if it affects the current decision, the current choices, the current experience, then it is emotional baggage. But if it doesn't affect the current experience, it means it's not a problem. Do you understand? Alright.
It's a question, but a true life experience.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, so this question is related with Okada, and then like, he was playing with me, but all of a sudden, what I had was like I fell down, my body everywhere, blood was gushing out of my body. So they rushed me to hospital. We were using needle and this thing to kind of sew my skin. So whenever I want to travel and I'm inside a bus, I'll remember that thing.
Okay.
I'll be like, what if this kind of thing occur again? So before you know it, I'll start shaking. And let me say, if there is a gallop, maybe in the vehicle where I am, if the vehicle wants to shake, I'll just scream.
And you remember
I'll just remember that thing that happened. So it has been a problem.
Yeah.
Like that means that I used to be afraid of accident.
Exactly.
I used to be afraid of accident.
So you need to deal with it.
Yes, sir.
When we get to the treatments.
Okay. That lives in our streets in Ebonyi.
Okay.
So these people believe that they are the best in the streets.
Okay.
Like the family, the children, they believe that nobody can pass them and others. So, but all of a sudden, some people started doing more than them.
Okay.
Like taking myself as a case study.
Okay.
So when I started, by God's grace, performing more than them in terms of academics, so they started becoming jealous of me.
Okay.
And then whenever they see me, they tend to pretend, and then they'll not say anything. But when I go, like when I leave the shop or whatever, they'll start talking bad things against me. So one day, somebody that knows me were sitting in their shop and they were discussing. So she had them saying a lot of things about me that was not true. So when she told me, she came back, she was telling me, look at what these people are saying about me. So so that time I was very, very annoyed with them. So each time I see them, I used to hate them. Like, I don't used to, each time I see those people, whenever they are coming, even till now, whenever I go home, if I see them, I just remember that thing that happened. Those things they said. So I will not, but I try dealing with it, but I cannot forgive them. Even when I pray about it, I don't know how to just.
Maybe you are the reason that we have my head. Because if I start talking about the treatment now, then I may miss the important aspect, which is identification. How you can easily see somebody and know this is that. And you need to identify before you can treat. So thank God you were passing through that, but you didn't know it's a problem. And now the identification is already going on. So you are beginning to see yourself in it. Yeah, it's a problem you need to deal with.